Like the Afrikaner nationalists, the ANC identified the state as the primary vehicle to fulfill its aspirations. In 1997, at its national conference in Mafeking, today Mahakeng, the party formalized a policy known as cadre deployment. 3 years after becoming the country's first fully democratically elected government, it sought to create a mechanism that would ensure its complete dominance over all levers of state power. The argument at the time was rational enough. After the role apartheid's bureaucracy played in subjugating millions of black South Africans, the democratic state needed to replace large sections of it with new people so that the new government's reform agenda was not sabotaged or stopped. To that end, the party had to implement a system that ensured the appointment, later deployment, of civil servants amenable to directives and policies formulated by the government. The policy, however, went much further than advertised. It represented the fusion of the ANC with the state and sought to make it impossible to eject the ANC from the marrow of the government. In 1998, the party's deployment committee was established and placed under Zuma's leadership. Its mandate was to ensure that ANC cadres, a word that references party operatives in Soviet Russia and Communist China, were placed in all strategic positions in the state, the cabinet, the civil service, at the head of institutions and agencies such as the National Prosecuting Authority, the NPA, in the leadership of parastatals such as Eskom and Transnet, in senior positions in the mass media, including the SABC. The goal of the cadre deployment policy was complete and irreversible ANC leadership. The system introduced at the end of Mandela's presidency, before he left office, he assented to legislation that would make cadre deployment easier, but formulated and implemented by Mbeki, ensured that the ANC's culture of patronage politics and rent-seeking would flourish. Mbeki's intention with cadre deployment was to ensure the supremacy of African nationalism and party control. But what it eventually led to was the severe weakening of the state, institutionalized corruption, and the rise of a predatory class of ANC deployee focused on large-scale resource extraction. How different is the ANC's policy of cadre deployment from the Broederbond's efforts to flood national party and government ranks with like-minded Afrikaner nationalists? During the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture, it was Barbara Hogan, a former cabinet minister, who gave the clearest insights until then on how cadre deployment distorted and destroyed good governance and accountability. She told the commission that ANC leaders, including Zuma when he was president and Gwedi Mantashe when he was secretary general, saw it as their right to insist on specific appointments that were under her purview. She questioned the system of deployment, bluntly saying the system was untenable and open to manipulation and corruption. This book explains how state capture exposed the depravity of cadre deployment. While it was abused by Mbeki to centralize control for his nationalist project, Zuma abused it to destroy the state and stay out of prison. ANC rent-seekers abused it to create elaborate and lucrative systems of patronage and extraction. And under Cyril Ramaphosa, cadre deployment became the last redoubt of party deployees as they sought to cart away as much treasure as possible before the party was voted out of power.